trailer, most from Mexico, Guatemala, and a handful from Honduras and El Salvador. It sounds a lot like what was in this one.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it's going on every day. I mean, you got to be really careful, really mindful of what you're out there. And let me tell you, they can get in any trailer. You got to make sure that you check seals. You got to make sure you check your trailer, you verify it, and you lock it and you seal it, and you verify the seal before you leave in a pre-trip, before you leave in a post-trip. Make sure that's the same seal that you put on there or the same seal that was in, because these things can happen. You don't want to be caught up in anything like that.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to go with you on this. Listen, there are opportunities for you to make sure that you're not allowing these things to happen.
Correct.
Doing a pre-trip, post-trip, looking for these things, especially when you're loading or unloading at the border towns, right, Dave? And then also, listen, you, just like we talk about with trafficking, you've got the ability, when you see something weird out there in that truck stop, when you see something odd, you hear something weird inside of that truck stop, at the breakfast table, across all, whatever that is, you've got to act on it, Dave. I believe that we as a trucking association, we as America, we see a lot of things out there as truck drivers, and if we will react, Dave, I think we can make a bigger difference than I bet what a lot of us really think.
Yeah, just a phone call. It doesn't matter if you're wrong either. I'd rather you err on the side of caution than err on a mistake that happens when it ends in the death of all these people, like it did in San Antonio. And just think, if somebody may have had an opportunity, I don't know that they did, but if somebody may have had an opportunity to see something, somebody may have all it takes is a phone call. All it takes is to get the authorities involved. I'm telling you, it's that serious. Lives are that important, and these people matter. You get that, right? I mean, and that's where the mistake has been made, is that they think these people don't matter, and they do. Their lives matter. All lives matter. And I'm telling you, we've got to make a difference, and just making a phone call can make a big difference.
Let me tell you, when it comes to human trafficking, Dave, and that's what this is right
Absolutely.
Here. When you see something, and anything you say can help, put an end, or at least put a stop to some of this that goes on today. Dave, 145 people were in that gentleman's trailer that we were talking about a second ago, and just like the other one with the 53 deaths, there wasn't even water in there.
No, no water, no way to take care. No care or concern for the individuals in the trailer. It was all about profit. It was just about making money. They didn't have any regard for human life, any regard for human safety, and they never will. It's just about money. And I'm telling you, we've got to stop it. We've got to make it not profitable. In fact, we've got to make it too costly for them to do business, and the way we do that is be involved.
Yes. Hey, Dave, let's look a little bit at freight before we go into our interview for today. We're going to start with fuel like we always do. Again, we believe that these are some big indicators on what we're going to see. Diesel prices hanging out at $5.82 a gallon. It's not coming down. It's not going up. It's kind of doing what it did here. And what we hopefully doesn't happen, it doesn't stay kind of cool at $5.82 and then jump up to $6, right?
No.
We don't want to see that side there. This is a lot of money. This represents about 85 cents a mile being spent alone on diesel pricing.
Wow.
So big cost associated to this, Drive Safe Dave. And then we're going to look over here. We have the van contract rates. This is when the shippers are going back out to market. Shippers are saying, okay, I know that freight's down. I know that I'm hearing all of these things about, there's too many drivers now, not enough freight. It's time to take it back out to bid. We're down to $274 on the contracted rates. Again, we saw that peak high up here at $285, $290, $295 on the final price in the contract. We expect it to stay kind of around here, maybe go down to $270. None of that really concerns me at this point, what we're seeing. We go down to the truck stop pay. Okay, this right here, this is what we're seeing as far as rate per mile to the driver. So if we look at the last 3 months, the independent contractor living on that spot market freight, right? Living on the spot market freight, they're down from $330 to $283. Hanging steady at $283, but remember, 87 cents of that number is going to fuel. So we're back down to under $2 a mile to the independent contractor. Dave, we go back and we look at the volume right now. and we are seeing a big surge. I'm talking this week alone. This week alone in freight. We saw it go all the way back down to 12,400 shipments. It started up about 13,000, right before the holiday, or right after the holiday, and here it went all the way back down. Look at the volume today. Yesterday was a massive day.
Yep.
Massive day, over 900, almost a 7% increase in freight. Dave, all of this does is tell me is that, we're trying to get freight out the door to make second quarter look pretty good.
Absolutely.
This is a second quarter thing is what we're saying here. Big push on second quarter, and if you're a shipper out there today, you're putting out a lot of freight. And we're even seeing that, the trucking industry right now, the spot market guys, the brokers, the truckers, we're still taking all that freight. We're taking all you can take right now, because what we expect is for volume next week to be extremely low.
Absolutely. It's a week after holiday week.
It's a week after holiday, but still it's a week after, if again, Dave, when you go back and you look at the volume, I don't care that the fact it's a holiday week. Let's look at this month here. We saw the freight go up after the holiday, but we saw it move down, okay? And it stayed down in that 12.4 mark. That 12.4 to 12.6 mark, I'll say. Just kind of where we hoped it, I know we would love it at 13,000, but it's not a 13,000 a day anymore. I know you thought it would. History said it would, but it stayed a little bit under that. But we could live with that side. All of a sudden, it pops back up this week here, fourth quarter, holiday, July 4th. And Dave, it's going to come back way under. And I'm going to believe we'll probably be sitting right around that 12.3 mark, hopefully, after, I'm talking all the way through July and August.
Yeah, I looked at some reports earlier, and I'm starting to believe that this number is going to be down lower. I looked at some interesting numbers on reports from GDP, down numbers across the board going forward this year alone. I think in a lot of the money that we gave away, we're starting to see some of the repercussions of it.
Yeah, we're still, we've seen inflation up. We've seen, and again, there's, I'll tell you this. I'm surprised still at the amount of money that we as America are spending today. Again, I do believe after this next holiday, and this is a big one right here, right?
Yep.
That freight's going to go down, because I'm telling you, we've spent all of our money. We've already spent it all. All this is shipments going out.
Yeah.
This isn't the humans. This isn't us, buying things. This is end of quarter to get that last push, for the stock market, so your numbers look good. This does not represent the buying, however, what's going on. And I believe, Dave, this huge increase, and this is as big as we've seen, at the end of a fourth quarter push in a while, even during COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, even during COVID, is that we are really pushing out to really trying to inflate this second quarter.
Trying to make bonus.
To make it look good. And boy, are we gonna see it. We're gonna see the real story about the middle of July on what we're gonna see. And it looks to me, and it sounds to me, it'll be a little grim. We're coming back next. We have Dana Moore with the TXTA on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
This segment has been brought to you by Utility ProWear. Utility ProWear manufactures high-quality, ANSI-certified, high-visibility apparel for both men and women. Infused with the Teflon fabric protector, Utility ProWear gives you the added benefit of providing a barrier to liquids, dirt, and grime, keeping you cleaner longer, brighter longer, and therefore safer longer. Get your high-visibility apparel by going to utilityproware.com. Use the code BCB20 at checkout for an exclusive discount.
All right, welcome back to BCB Live, Drive Safe Dave. We're once again, blessed with the presence of Mr. Dana Moore. Dana, how you doing up there, sir?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be back with you guys.
Man, it's always good to have, to have you on the show to not only to hear about a little bit about what goes on at the TXTA, but to, some of the things that y'all work on. And boy alive, how important you are as an association, the Texas Truckers Association, to our industry. And I want to thank you personally, Dana, for all that you do.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, the voice of the Texas Trucking Association. Absolutely, that's what y'all do out there. You basically go out there on the Hill, also public relations, all the different things that y'all got going on over there. Is there, Dana? Hey, as we move forward here, and what? Let's talk about this. We talked about it earlier. We talked about it in the opening segment. I just want to get what a human tragedy going on in San Antonio. What happened? What do you think? What are y'all's thoughts over there at the TXTA?
I watched the governor's press conference yesterday, and they had the director of DPS, Stephen McGraw, on there, and they were talking about their plan to address this. And we are 100% behind that because we believe it will actually target what's actually going on. For example, it's believed that these folks, these migrants, had crossed over on foot, put in a dash house, and then transported from the American side on up to San Antonio. And so DPS is bringing in what they're calling strike forces, which will be made up of commercial vehicle enforcement troopers who will set up different checkpoints, temporary checkpoints along smuggling routes to check the trucks. We believe this is a very good program that will work this time.
Yeah, I think anything that allows us the opportunity to stop this dead in its tracks and make a difference and a genuine impact on this human trafficking, this profit, this money-making machine of moving people like a commodity, not like human beings to and from, and with little disregard for their safety, little disregard for their life, little disregard for who they are, and I think anything that we can do with with in any way, government out there, DPS or anybody, make a good change.
I'll go a little bit further into that as to what a driver can do, and it kind of goes back to the 9/11 thing. See something, say something, but I'll go a little bit further with it. When you have a driver, a professional driver, that is on the road, that is their domain. They in truck stops or rest areas, the places where these smugglers are transporting humans. A professional driver knows his or her environment. They know. All you really kind of have to do is look, and if something doesn't seem right, trust your gut and call, because law enforcement can't be everywhere. It doesn't take much to make a quick phone call and say, something just doesn't look right. Can y'all come check it out? And there'll be an officer come by, and you might end up saving quite a few lives. If there's nothing wrong, then there's nothing wrong.
Yeah, Dana, I agree with everything what you said, that we talked about that this morning, is that, man, when we see things, there's a lot of us out there on the roadway, when we see any kind of trafficking, any kind of human trafficking, we've got to make that stand that says, I'm not going to allow it. And taking it further to our industry, boy, it just bothers to the soul of me is that, once again, or I shouldn't say once again, but man, so many times our industry gets a black eye by items like this as well. And we've got to make sure that we do all we can to prevent that from happening. So I'm right with you, Dana. We, the Trucking Association, we, the Truckers of America, we don't want these things putting black eyes on what we do.
Absolutely. And in this particular case, it's been reported that the truck in question here that had the migrants that died in it was actually was cloned by a legitimate company, or actually using the credentials of a legitimate company in the Valley or South Texas. So it's going to be kind of important to another thing is pay attention to trucks. I think you mentioned earlier, Dave, about how you check your load, check your seals, things like that. But that's something a company would want to pay attention to, their credentials. For example, if by chance someone wants an inspection, if you check in your portal, you'll see that inspection and think, well, that's not me.
Huh. Now, that's a great point there, how that, and for those of you that don't know what Dana's talking about, we as a safety group, we get these inspections, and if one of them doesn't look like yours, you've got to act on it, because it may not be. You could be somebody, cloning as you, stealing your credentials to move freight across America or to do things like this. Great point on that. And to the safety professionals out there, it's important to understand and listen to what Dana said is look at your documentation, look at the data. If something doesn't seem right, act on it, and you may discover something right
Absolutely. And the drivers out there, if you're driving in an area that you know that your company goes in and they're running a day cab and you don't have day cabs in Laredo, but they got your DOT number, it might be an important phone call you make. I mean, it's the simple things you're looking at. You're going to spot your own flag out there on the side of a truck. It's just something that a driver does, sees, it doesn't make sense. What are we doing? Pick up the phone, call, ask, hey, are we hauling, somebody else's trailer? Are we hauling, and if we're doing that, pick up a phone call, get involved, just ask. It's a simple question, and you know what? It can lead to some solutions and lead to some real answers and probably save somebody's life.
Wow.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, talk to us a little bit, Dana. What's been going on? Anything new you want to talk to us a little bit about the TXTA and items you're working on?
Yeah, we'll start with the speed limiter issue. And that can be quite emotional at times, I've noticed. But FMCSA is actually requesting information, and we would encourage anyone that operates trucks, owner-operators, to go to the FMCSA website to actually answer the questions. It will go to the Federal Register and give FMCSA the information. Now, is it going to happen? My guess is yes, it is. And of course, ATA is extremely involved in this at this point in time, and they're kind of our voice on the Hill. One of the things that we're very, very encouraged by is the possibility of safety equipment. For example, the automatic braking, what do you call it, where they have the
collision avoidance system.
Yeah, cruise control. If those things are installed on the vehicle, then at least those vehicles should be able to get a higher speed. Of course, the big issue that you see on it is, the different speed differential. And I don't have any of the data on that, but I do know that's a big issue right there. OIDA is kind of pushing that issue that it's going to be too unsafe. But at the end of the day, are the feds going to come out with it? Probably so. And the other issue is how is it going to be enforced? I know that Canada had some issues with that as well. So we'll just have to wait and see. We will monitor that as well. Going back a little bit before we were talking about earlier, I'm a part of the American Truck Association's Law Enforcement Advisory Board, which is made up of 37 people. 35 of us are retired law enforcement, and most of us have commercial vehicle enforcement service, CDSA, ties, and two people are current police officers. One of them is up there in Midlothian. So we have a number of priorities we're looking at, and human trafficking is one of them, because we are definitely set to be able to have that communication with law enforcement. Every industry has its own lingo, if you will. Trucking has its. Law enforcement has its own lingo as well. So when you talk to law enforcement officers, I would think it'd be the same with military and doctors and everybody else. If you've been one, you kind of have a little bit more of an in. And so I think our group has like 900 years of service total. It's quite a bit. So we're looking at the human trafficking, and we're looking at truck stop or parking and also safety issues. We want to try to get law enforcement to actually come into these rest areas, come into these truck stops, drive through, be a presence there.
Nice. Good.
DOT officers that we all deal with, of which I used to be one, we're familiar with this, but we're very small in number as compared to the regular officers. And so that's the thing we're doing, reaching out to the regular patrol officers and their command staff and impressing upon them how important it is. I was on a webinar yesterday with a lady that was talking about this, women in trucking. And there are truck stops that women are afraid to go to. They don't want to be seen as a single female getting out of the truck, walking into the truck stop, and somebody's going to be waiting for them when they come back. So I do know that some women will stop at a truck stop, get fuel, and drive down to the road to the next truck stop because it's safer. So there are some issues that really need to be addressed because we got to keep the trucks rolling. And of course, we'd like to have more women in the business. I think that goes without saying. So we're looking at that, and then we're also going to be trying to use our influence through ATA to try to get more money for truck parking. It is ridiculous how few spots there are out there for truck drivers to park in, and they got to park. They're mandated rest, and plus they're humans, you know.
So, and as we talked about that, we brought that up on the show a few times, and as we continue to talk about it, you know, we have under the money that was given to the states under the what is it called? Infrastructure bill, the money that was divvied out to the states. Or are we seeing any of that going towards parking by the state? Are we seeing any of that being put aside for that right there?
I don't know the exact number. That would probably be handled through TxDOT. I do know that it is on the radar. We're in constant conversation with the various agencies on that, pushing for it. I don't know the numbers though.
Yeah, and you know, you bring that up, and the interesting part is when you talk to local cities, and I speak to a few cities just in general on the city manager level. I don't know one of them excited to have truck parking, Dana. You know, there's none of them pushing to have more trucks in their area. And so that's going to be interesting to me to see where this happens at, because when you even take a city like Dallas, there's just nowhere to park inside this city. And then I want to go back to another subject you brought up, you know, regarding the trafficking, regarding unsafe areas. And those are areas that we've got to look at. Let me tell you something. If you're scared to spend the night somewhere, we've got to find a way to get some more law enforcement out there to clean it up, or for have that trucking, that fuel place, you know, do something about that, because provide security. It's not what we want. The last thing we want is whether it's a woman or a guy or anybody to go in there, fuel up, and leave because they're worried. That means there's something bad going on. Those are flags for us to drive through and find things as trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking. All of those things are going on at those places. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be scared to stay there.
Yeah, and they're the ones that are able to identify it. Like you said earlier yourself, Dana, they already know the industry. They already know the truck stops. They know better than any what's going on out there. All you have to do is ask one, and they'll give you, oh, yeah, well, let me tell you. That's all you have to do. It's not uncommon for them to already know. They're wise on the road. They understand what's happening out there. They get it. And I think you're absolutely right. Y'all are on point trying to get some of these law enforcement officers to go into these truck stops and make a genuine presence known. Because if y'all are there, or if law enforcement is there, the bad guys aren't going to be there. I mean, it's just a given. And if they are, they're going to get caught. And that's what we want. We want them caught, but we sure don't want them around our people in our industry. One other question I had for you, and I wanted to get to it. I wanted to talk to you about it. Last time you were on, we discussed in length the tort reform and the bill that had passed and how in its effect. Have you seen how it's changed how it's going through the courts today, the bill here in Texas?
Well, this only went into effect on September the 1st.
Yeah.
So any case that was filed last September would be under the new rules. The new rules of evidence is pretty much what this is. We don't have any data yet. We are working on that because it takes a little while for these cases to make their way. They get filed, obviously, but it takes a little time for it to go through. We do know that there are insurance companies that had pulled out of Texas that are now coming back into Texas because they're excited about the changes in this rules of evidence. But we're trying to gather some numbers right now with our attorneys that are part of our association to try to figure out where we are on that.
Hey, Dan, I do want to talk to you on the same thing there. So I just, again, I think it's important that you hear these things about us. I just spent a few days with about 45 different trucking companies all over the United States. And a lot of people have eyes on what you all did here on that tort reform. So just so you know, a lot of eyes, a lot of people pushing for what you've done to see how it turns out. A lot of people excited about what you did. And I just want to make sure that you and the TXDA knows that, you know what, boy, trucking companies across the country are proud of what you did and to keep pushing items like that.
Well, thank you very much. One of the things that happened after it passed is I started getting phone calls and emails of, okay, well, what does this mean for me as a company? What does this mean for me as a driver? What do I need to do? And one of the important components of the bill that we put in there, and we had to put this in order to really get guarantee of enough votes for it to pass, was I was asked during the process of the bill, give me a list of things that every good company should be doing and every professional driver should be doing. And it's important that companies follow this. And by the way, anybody can get a copy of this. If you just go to the TXTA website, which is trucking.com, texastrucking.com, and go under the advocacy tab, and you can see the document that we created. And it lines it out. If you are a driver, this is what you need to do in order to take advantage, full advantage of the protections, if you will, from the predatory lawyers. Now, we're not talking about trying to get out of anything that a company or driver is responsible for. We're talking about the predatory lawyers that you see, many of them on the billboards. So, and I'll give you an example. The first thing that I gave the group that was putting this together in the legislature was, you must be properly licensed. You've got to have the right CDL, the right endorsements are needed, and can't be in violation of restrictions. If you have to have a medical card, you should have it. There's a number of things. And then the other side of the document talks about, okay, if you're a safety professional or you're a carrier, this is what you must ensure is being done. So I would encourage everybody to go to texastrucking.com under the Affinity tab and download that document. It's in a PDF, and even though if you're not a member, it doesn't matter. Just go and get the document because it's good for our industry.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And if you're not part of the Texas Trucking Association, let me tell you something, especially if you're out of Texas here, join this association. It's important that we all stick together. It's important that we all encourage it, and we just have to learn and have knowledge about what our industry is, the challenges that we're going through, and that's just part of what they do for us.
Absolutely. You can go to their website and look. They've got so many resources right there on the website, videos, safety training, safety information. They've got all kinds of great information that you can grab right off of the website that Dana's talking about. I mean, they got so much stuff that you can look at, go get, to help you in the business today. And it doesn't matter what you do, but if you're in Texas doing business in this industry, you need to have them on your side, and you need to look at what they've got and go and at least look at the resource and utilize some of that genuine information.
Absolutely.
Hey, Dana, I want to thank you for being on the show. Thank you for once again being part and educating us here on BCB Live on just a little bit about what y'all are doing there at the TXTA. Dana, before you get out of here, you know what you got to do. You got to state your name, who you're with, and tell everybody they're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate y'all having us on, and look forward to coming back again.
All right. Dana, you ain't got, I'm going to say it for you. It's Dana, and he's telling you you're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you said there. Yeah, I'm Dana Moore, and this is BCB Live.
There you go. Appreciate you, Dana. God bless you. Stay safe. Keep doing it. Keep doing what you're doing out there for all of us here in Texas, especially, right?
Yeah, and for the industry as a whole.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you, buddy. Very much. Boy, drive safe, Dave. Just a lot of things that go on. And it was just, that trafficking we talked about at the beginning of the show. He talked about a little bit. We all play an important role in that. We've all got to continue to keep our eyes open, to be aware of things. I think it's the same thing in general with all that we do in this industry. We know what's right and what's wrong. And the fact that when we see something that is wrong, no matter if it's one of your co-drivers perhaps doing something they shouldn't be doing, cheating on a log, somebody that you see out there with the trafficking side, drinking and driving, all of these things. Listen, we want a clean we want a clean industry. We want our industry to be the safest industry out there. And Dave, I just think it should never be cool for somebody to break the rules.
No. In fact, we used to talk about in the past, you would hear out there about people driving all these miles, and you would sit there in the truck stop, and you would hear some, oh, yeah, well, I drove 5,000 miles. Look, let me tell you, nobody can do that safely. Nobody can do that well, and nobody can do that within the law. Yeah. And we don't want that. We don't want that for our industry. What we do is we want them to be safe. And if you hear something bad, say something and stand up for what's right. I'm not trying to talk to you about getting into a conflict in a truck stop or going out there wearing a cape and running out and trying to stop a trafficker. But I am asking you to pick up the telephone and just dial 3 numbers.
Yeah, action. We're asking you to put action behind
Absolutely.
it, not you doing anything. But you know what? You pick up the phone, calling 911 or calling the trafficking association. Those are hero things that you're doing out there. Those are what we're asking you to do. You are making a difference when you do those things. We're not asking you to go out there and bang down the door.
No, and I'm telling you, if you get into a truck stop and you feel unsafe or the lights are out, man, go in and talk to management. Go in and say, hey, look, the word's getting out that this place is not where you want to stop and not where you want to be because you don't have lights out there and you're not protecting us. I mean, let management know. Just say to the manager, hey, can you get the lights on or something? If you're feeling unsafe there, let them know why, because they will effectively change it if they think it's going to be done. They have an opportunity. Give them the opportunity to change it.
And lastly, once again, I want to hit this one point there, is that if you see something going on out there with your company, if you see something like Dave said, you know, it's a day cab and you don't run day cabs, and it has your authority on it.
Absolutely.
Say something. There are a lot of people out there that steal the identity in trucking, just like they do out there with driver's license, social security cards, the same thing. Once they get those credentials, they can act like they are another company by the signs on their trucks, by their permit books. They smell and taste like another company, yet they're not. If you know what's going on, you see something out there that just doesn't seem right, say something at least to your company. Call into them and let them know that, you know what? Boy, I just saw a truck that just doesn't look like one of ours.
Absolutely. And it's pulling a trailer I've never seen before. We don't even pull for that company. What's going on? Is that right? Is that happening? Do you know anything about this? Because usually the company will know what's going on and will know what's happening in that area or have an understanding. But if they don't have anybody else down there, then what you're doing is you're saving your company a massive headache going forward, and you're catching a criminal in the act because they're stealing from you and what your company and everything that you do. So be attentive and understand what's going on.
Double Check Dale coming up next on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. You're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. BCB Live covers freight. Here we are now at 21% of record freight being rejected. News down in Texas. We're going to talk a little bit about this. We had another $1.5 million seizure. If ever there's a time to do a pre or post trip, it's if you're doing something wrong. Weather, traffic.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to some traffic and weather with Buckle Up Bob. You can kind of see where the visibility can be compromised a little bit. Again, right where that rain is.
And most importantly, safety. One of the things that we must do is make sure that safety is the number one thing that we focus on.
Going into an intersection yellow is not the way. That's to clear an intersection, not to enter an intersection.
Tune in weekdays from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can watch BCB Live through LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe today and follow BCB Live.
Good morning and welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Double Check Dale here to talk a little bit of weather with you. We'll start with the winds, and as the winds go, there is not much going on today. Currently, you see a little bit of the stronger winds up in central Nebraska, Iowa, going up into Minnesota and Wisconsin. You know, the winds are a little bit stronger, but we're not expecting any major gusts or strong gusts there. You know, we kick in the afternoon, and it just, you know, the winds are there, but the strong gusts really never show up. And so, you know, for winds today, you know, we'll go to 6 o'clock and it even starts dying down by then. So as far as winds go for today and going into tomorrow, for the way it looks, very calm as far as winds, not some stronger gusts. The stronger gusts won't be around, the winds will be, but nothing over the 35, 40 mile an hour gust. And so we're real fortunate there. Let's take a look and see what's going on with precipitation. You know, currently we have some stronger storms down in that Houston area and down in Mississippi and Alabama, southern parts of those are seeing some storms. And then again, some rain and thunderstorms up in the St. Paul, northern Wisconsin area. But this morning going into the afternoon, you know, it's all pretty calm until we get into, you know, about mid-afternoon, 2 o'clock or so, it starts picking up the heat and the moisture coming out of the Gulf starts acting up. And so western Colorado, southern Wyoming is going to see some rain and thunderstorms this afternoon, as is the Houston area, southern Louisiana, most of Mississippi. And Florida and Orlando will see some rain this afternoon, quite a bit of storms going on there. As we get into that 7 o'clock, you know, early evening hours, you know, same place as Colorado, Utah, seeing those storms, a little bit in Arizona, some storms in central Nebraska, but that Gulf Coast area remains very, very active as far as the rains go. So Louisiana, Mississippi, Bama, Georgia, and Florida all be seeing some rain and thunderstorms this evening. None of them look particularly severe. As we go into the overnight, into the morning hours, very strong storm in northern Michigan tomorrow morning, parts of Wisconsin. Houston again is still getting some rain tomorrow morning, as is Nebraska, western Nebraska. And then by 6 a.m., 7 a.m., southern Iowa storm, Houston still getting the rain, and then Alabama. But overall, there's a lot of pop-up storms with this heat and the wind and precipitation. A lot of pop-up storms. Some of those storms can get locally severe, so pay attention to them. The winds can pick up, but they're pretty fast-moving and they aren't sticking around very long. None of them look well-developed. We'll keep an eye on that. If anything changes, we'll let you know. And with that, we will take a short break and be back with some safety.
This segment has been brought to you by Utility ProWear. Utility ProWear manufactures high-quality, ANSI certified, high-visibility apparel for both men and women. Infused with the Teflon fabric protector, Utility ProWear gives you the added benefit of providing a barrier to liquids, dirt, and grime, keeping you cleaner longer, brighter longer, and therefore safer longer. Get your high-visibility apparel by going to utilityprowear.com. Use the code BCB20 at checkout for an exclusive discount.
Welcome back to BCB Live, safest station in the nation. Thursday, Thankful Thursday. So thankful for what each and every one of you do for our industry. If you're in the industry, hey, tell somebody thank you. If you're sitting at that shipping dock, that receiving dock today, hey, when that driver comes in, hey, tell them thank you for what you do. If you got loaded quick, let that shipper know, hey, we appreciate it. You got unloaded quick. Let them know that as well. A little kudos never hurts anything. All right, Dale, here we go. 4th of July weekend right up on us.
Yes, it is.
What are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about, the deadliest states. We already know it's one of the most traveled holidays, the second most traveled holiday behind Thanksgiving. And so with that, there's a lot of fatalities that go with it. Unfortunately, Texas, from 2010 to 2019, Texas has been the deadliest state for fatalities on 4th of July weekend. We averaged 397 over that period. That's a lot of fatalities. If we look at the top 10, a lot of it has to do with the population, because California is second deadliest state, Florida's third, Georgia's fourth, and New York is fifth. All those very populous states, but it just goes back to, we have to be aware of what's going on around us. We have those impaired drivers. We have the distractions with the fireworks. We got a lot of families moving about, taking some vacation because of the extra day off. And so all this stuff, so you just have to be prepared for it, be patient out there, and we can get there safely.
Gotcha. Great points on all of that right there.
And your safety firework tip for the week, make sure that you keep all your fireworks separated from the area in which you're implementing the explosions. Also keep them away from structures and outdoors. Never use fireworks indoors at all times. So with structures, keep the gunpowder away from the fire.
Yeah, every
Not
year.
all the way true. I mean, we see fireworks being worked in stadiums. They do go off there.
Those are professionals, sir.
Okay, I would say this: pay attention to your burn bans. If you're in a burn ban place right now, if you're in a city state again that says, "Hey, we don't allow it," also pay attention to that. Don't do that. Firecracker. Are you guys big firecracker guys?
I've always been.
Not so much anymore. When I was a kid, that was the big thing, because I grew up in Iowa and they were illegal, so we had to run over to South Dakota and pick up our fireworks and get back. And man, we thought that was top shelf.
It's just nothing like breaking the law, right?
Going over even at an early age.
I tell you, man, that's that little freaking thing. And boy, it's 4th of July. Don't do it. If it's banned, don't do it. You'll hear it in the neighborhoods, even though they're banned.
Yep.
Just don't join in with them. All I used to do was just the snakes, that little black thing you'd light, and the snake, the charcoal would go out. That was me.
I'm a big Black Cat fan. I think big Black Cat fan. Let me tell you how dangerous they are. Understand, if you put a firecracker on your palm and you light it and it goes off, it'll sting a little bit. If you close your hand, you'll blow your hand off. So you got to be really mindful of how powerful.
That was the stupidest thing ever to say. So we're challenging all the kids out there.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're watching this, Don't do this. Just put it on here. You'll get a sting.
I'm saying
We're put a firework and just light it on there and just see what happens. You know what?
It will hurt. It will hurt, but it won't blow your head
A little sting. I've got to think it's going to be more than a little sting.
It'll burn.
It'll leave a mark. Let's leave it at
go
that.
to some safety here. You know, hopefully we can give you some better safety advice than what we're giving you on the 4th here.
Look at some videos. I like that we've been able to enhance them and see more of the metrics that go with it. So let's take a look at some.
So first video we got is called Need Some Space.
You know, and so now as we're looking at it, we can tell up there, it's going to flash up there that we're, 6/7 of a second behind. So we know we're too close. Also, that red box shows up, so we know we're too close. And this is what we look at. And, you know, the drivers are getting some in-cab coaching at this point, saying, hey, too close, back off a little bit. Just really goes to show, drivers, when you see this, and if you don't think this is right, count it out loud, and you will find that it is dead on.
So the green boxes that we see, now the drivers don't see what you're seeing here, right?
No.
So this is technology we see behind the scenes after the fact that helps us identify things. The green boxes, what is that saying?
Those are vehicles out of the sight path, but that they're still tracking them. So if they were to change lanes, they'll go from green to red if they're too close. And so they're just letting you know what else is going on around you.
Gotcha. And that 0.8 over there, we really want that to say 4 point something, right?
If it gets when it gets above 1.3, it starts going away for us. And so
Gotcha.
if it's 4, we'll never see it. If it's 4, we don't see the video because that's a safe following distance.
Yeah, and this is basically just the AI working to understand and detail the information going on around it and picking out targets and also finding out how far away they are, because they will sight and see the following distance on any of those.
Yeah.
Next video we got is called All It Takes Is a Couple of MPHs.
You know, it's evening time. Just put an evening one in here because this works day or night. I mean, it's that technology, and so we're still too close. We see that red box in the vehicle alongside of us, keeps in that green box, knows that it's not right in front of us, and so it's tracking that. You know, if we just back off a couple miles an hour here, that space starts to increase. And you see that a couple times. The speed drops a mile an hour, I believe, on this one, and all of a sudden the space goes to a second. So, you know, all it takes is a couple miles an hour, a couple seconds, and you've got that space there, and then you can follow. I mean, just create the space.
Next video we got is called Keep the Intersection a Little Safer.
You know, it's a heartbreak. The driver's doing a great job in here, recognizing, you know, hey, stale green light, being prepared to stop. Light goes to stale, to yellow. Driver stops and does a great job here. Still love showing this because intersections are so dangerous. Want to just keep them in that forethought and let drivers think about it. Hey, we're coming to an intersection. Hey, we got a stale green light. I need to be prepared to stop. I need to be going a speed I can safely stop when it changes.
Gotcha. Hey, Dale, in the same video here, when it comes to, I'm assuming the technology here is Samsara as well. When we look at the camera here, is it picking up the light as well on this?
It's not picking the light up on this. What triggered this one is a harsh brake, and so if we look at that graph going across the bottom, that solid red line is when the brake came on, and the vertical line, red line, is where the harsh brake happened, 9 miles an hour in a second, and so that's what picked it up. It just happened to be at a stoplight.
You know, what's really encouraging about this altogether, as the driver identifies the light up ahead, you can see a slight decrease in speed all the way up until the point so their foot was off of the accelerator and being prepared to stop if needed, and you can see what transpired was a successful stop at a red light, and you can see how it slowly goes down until the point in which they make contact with the brake. So the driver was genuinely aware and understood the importance of a stale green light and was good and was prepared to stop.
Yeah.
Next video we got is called Need Some Space.
You know, these videos are about following distance, and we may have looked at this one, and we're still too close on it. You know, if we show it 3 times, we'll still be too close on it. You know, the speed limit is, you know, they're below the speed limit. So, you know, speed's not always just the answer. We just have to increase that space a little bit, recognize, and then make those changes.
Here's Need Some Space. What's happening in the left lane?
You know, again, when we look at this, we're at 0.09, so we're underneath a second of following distance to it and everything, and so we got to own that distance. And here we see, you know, as we change that lane, that green box goes away, because now we have open space in front of us. So the technology is really really good on this. It understands what's going on, and it takes that following distance away from you as soon as you get yourself into it. But if you look ahead, you got to have that big picture, because what's happening with that black car sitting at an angle on what looks to be a merge lane or an exit lane. So always got to have that big picture, and sometimes lane changes aren't always the safest thing to be doing.
Our last video of the day is called "No Win, You're Too Close."
Yeah, I mean, just too close. I mean, if you doubt the technology, look at the tractor trailer. You're alongside of it, and the vehicle ahead of you is alongside of it at the same time. That's 70 feet, in that area. And so just too close. Folks, you have to recognize this and just correct it. Just back off. We're not getting there any faster. We're not saving any time. We're just putting ourselves in an unsafe situation right here.
Yeah, I mean, we're going 53 miles an hour, and we're still too close. You're going 53 miles an hour, you're too close. And you can let's take it out of the videos here for a second, because, these are action items that, again, to my heart, I don't understand why we can't, why when we see these, and again, these are random videos. I get all of this, but, are you, the driver that watches this show, are you making a difference? Are you changing what you can do? Because when we see vehicles follow this close, let me tell you something, you don't know what's ahead of the other vehicle. You don't know, are they going to stop, or what's going to happen, and I'm going to tell you, you can't stop if you're 0.8, 0.76 behind. You're going to, more than likely, you're going to hit somebody.
Not only that, and here it is, if they hit somebody, and I'm not talking about hitting their brake, because if you're counting on them hitting their brake, slowing, and you slow in the same, and all of this stuff going on, but if they hit something, which happens, if they hit something, you're hitting them. There's no ifs, ands, or but about it. If that vehicle hits something, you're hitting them, and there's nothing you can do about it, because you're that close. You aren't controlling that area in front of you. You aren't doing the one very and most important thing, and that's controlling that space between you and the vehicle in front of you.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if it's a four-wheeler in front of you or a big truck in front of you. And I'll even say this, if you are a four-wheeler and you're driving, listen, you've got that same responsibility and accountability. However, you're probably just not going to act the way that we in the trucking side should act, meaning that you haven't gone through the same training. You've taken the same test. You should be also looking up ahead if you're driving a car. And if you see something in the roadway, you see cars stopped up ahead of you, you should also have enough time to stop, because you've got to remember, we have to have more time to stop behind us. But if you're driving a big truck, don't count on them.
Nope.
If you find yourself too close, dadgummit, back off. Dave, and here's my thing, is I get it, right? And I don't know what the number is, but I do think this, when you're driving the big truck, if you find yourself too close and you're being coached on it, or you see it yourself, you've got to, at that point, have the action to back off. And if you don't see that, then you know what? You're not counting out loud. You've got to make yourself have some self-awareness about how close you're following. You don't just need technology to help you out. It's there to do that, but you all can count. You all can count. And if you can count and you're not getting to 3 or 4 seconds, let me tell you something, you got to back down. I mean, you don't need me to tell you this. You find yourself in these situations, and I get it. Man, you don't want somebody, you got that space. You don't want somebody to get in there. You feel like, big deal. Give it to them. And then give them some more space. Because there's nothing, your goal out there, it isn't to run as many miles as you can, right?
No.
Your goal is to save lives and to do it safely out there. And I believe this, Dave. And again, when I was out there talking to some guys in the trucking thing, and this wasn't a trucking company. This was some other people at the trucking event. And once they go, yeah, but and I was speaking regarding the autonomous vehicle. Its job is to be safe. And they said, well, you're probably just not going to, but can you imagine the amount of late loads? I said, who cares, number one. Number two is I don't think it will really happen, because you're not losing that much time. You're just not. And you know what? You take
can't
the
make
feelings
up
out
time.
of it.
You really can't make
No,
up
you
time.
can't.
If you push the truck and drive faster, all you're doing is jeopardizing your own safety and your disregard, because I'm telling you, you've made an excuse to do the things necessary to be safe. You're not going to make up time. If you think that, then you need to understand how far you can go, how many minutes you can go. Driving fast and driving crazy is just going to get somebody hurt.
And Dana spoke about a little bit of the speed limiters, right? And we've heard, boy, a lot of conversation about it. You go to any truck stop, you bring that up, you may not walk out of there, right? But let's talk a little bit about that, Dave. What is truly the big issue? Because a lot of the issues we hear about, right, are the dangers it presents, because those are, to me, are exception times.
Agreed.
Right? And listen, most of the drivers that argue for that part, that say that, a lot of those folks aren't the issue. They're not the ones that are using it to abuse the same thing. They're doing it maybe the right way, right? Passing when you need to, going, making sure your spacing is good. We're talking about the 20% of this industry that doesn't have the same beliefs as you. That doesn't put safety as the number one priority. That take advantage of the speeds. That go too fast. That follow way too close. All of that. That's what we've got to get on board to protect. And you know what? For those that believe you're going to lose time, you're just not. For those of you that believe that you're going to be in an unsafe situation, well, you're not going to be as much as you think. Because you're just going to, you're going to be going up that hill at 58 with the other guy, maybe.
Yeah.
And you're not going to pass him. And listen, it's okay if we can just get that belief in. And the answer, Dave and Dale's not going to be, well, you need to go on hourly. That's not the answer. The answer is you've got to be safe.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
It always has been. That's always been the answer, is be safe. And I'm just saying, we're talking about speed limiters, and we're talking about a lot of things in the industry, but you and every driver out there understands and knows what I'm talking about when you're talking about that crazy guy running down the road doing 90 miles an hour in a truck with little disregard for anybody else.
We see it all the time. We see it on the videos.
Yeah, and right behind another vehicle trying to push him.
Dale, we saw 3 of them on ours today.
Yeah, pushing.
Guys following too close.
Pushing.
Everybody we saw on there was pushing.
Yeah. Why? I mean, you all know what I'm talking about too. Those guys that are out there driving way too fast. And they
Dave,
can't
we
even
just
see.
saw them. We saw guys. Throw it on one of these ones here. Throw a video up for me.
You can't even see
It
the
doesn't matter.
concrete.
It's the same thing. This is 0.8 behind. They are pushing the same way, even going 54 miles an hour. They're still pushing.
That's too crazy right there. You can't see anything.
It's 0.7. It's not even a second behind.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This is the exact same thing. This is pushing right now. This doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. Nope. You got no outs, Dave. Nope. If something, where's your out at?
You don't have one.
Dale, where's your out at?
This one you don't have one.
Why in the heck would you do this? Right? If you're a driver, why if you have no outs, you can't even see what's in front of the vehicle in front of you. Is it because you're going 54 that makes you feel you can get closer?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
No, I mean, when you talk drivers, you hear, well, I've been driving 30 years. I've always drove this way. I've never had an accident. So it's that not recognizing how close they are, what the dangers are. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is they don't truly understand the dangers because it hasn't happened to them. I'm telling you, once they have an accident because they followed too close, it won't happen again, because then all of a sudden it becomes real to them. Even when we show this, sometimes it doesn't seem like...
We don't need tragedy.
No.
To understand.
Yeah.
No,
we don't. Is that what we want to do? Hey, we want you to go hit somebody.
No, I mean,
and I'm not saying you're saying that, but that's how we drive.
Right.
I've never done one. So what? Well, you know what? Says everybody until they kill somebody.
Yeah.
Says everybody
That's the
until they
point.
hit the vehicle in front of them. You don't have to kill somebody.
Yeah.
You don't to run into somebody. If you don't have enough space, here's my thing. If you don't have enough space to stop, it's real simple. You're going too fast. If you don't have enough space to stop, you're going too fast. So that can mean at 40 miles per hour. That can mean at 60 miles per hour. If in fact, if you believe this, it takes a second for you to react.
It does.
And then you realize that, Dave, when we do react, our equipment still can't react as fast. There's still there's things that have to happen, right?
There's a lag.
It's going to lag. So here we go. So if you're 0.7 seconds away behind somebody, it's going to take a second for you to react. Let's just say you're Superman or Superwoman. You're better than everybody else, and you only need, 0.5 seconds to react because I'm on top of everything. Okay, now you have 0.2 seconds for your equipment to stop and for you to be able to stop before you hit that vehicle in front of you.
It's not enough.
It's not enough time. So why in God's green earth would anybody do that? I was curious. Seriously, autonomous vehicles, they won't do that. And I'm not here pushing that, but it has a safety mindset. It's just focused on safety. Dave, what keeps you and I and Dale from being the same way?
Denial.
Yeah.
Denial in the truth, denial in our own actions, denial in our own inability, denial in what could happen, denial. It's all we think that it's not us. It's I've just got to get around this car. I got to get it. It's somebody else, and it's going to happen to somebody else. It's denial, Sir Rick. It's absolutely 100% denial.
All right. Hey, Dave, you want to close out with prayer?
Dear Heavenly Father, we gather before you today and ask for your grace in all things. Father, we ask that you help us be mindful of what we do and how we do it in all our actions today. Help keep us safe and help keep us focused on safety. Help us to project this safety not only to ourselves, but to everyone around us in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Father, truly help us be a blessing upon somebody else today, whenever we can and however we can. We ask all these things in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Everybody be safe. Make the safest decision you can. We're going to see you tomorrow. Listen, when you're out there driving today, seriously, when you find yourself, what was that?
I don't know, but it's. That's I didn't know. All right, WD-40.
I just got distracted right
crew.
there. Yeah. Find yourself distracted. Don't get back in focus, but be safe out there. Listen, we need you safe. Our industry needs you to be the safest you absolutely can. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Bye, everybody.